A few weeks, a new drug will be hitting the market to help slow the progression of Alzheimer's. The FDA has approved Kisunla to help those in the early stages of the disease.
WKYT's Kelsey Soto is talking with the Central Kentucky chapter of the Alzheimer's Association about the renewed possibility of finding a cure.
They can get pamphlets about online caregiver resources, or even how do I plan for this future?
Alzheimer's affects almost 7 million Americans. Now, a new drug given in monthly infusions could help prevent progression of the disease.
That it gives people hope. I think people need that hope. We know there's not a cure. We know that there's not a cure, but there will be.
Meredith Plant is a program coordinator with the Alzheimer's Association. About a year ago, they started an early stages support group in Lexington. They meet the second Tuesday at 12 o'clock at the Fayette County Extension Office. She tells me this new medicine can help give families something priceless, more time.
It gives people more precious moments with their family, friends, and loved ones, and gives them a little bit longer to have a good quality of life.
In a large trial, Kisunla slowed the decline of cognitive function overall by about 22% over 18 months. Dr. John LaPook, chief medical correspondent for CBS News, says the results are promising, but there are always risks.
Major side effects include temporary swelling and bleeding in the brain, which did cause 3 deaths. That was less than 1% of patients.
He says only those in the early stages of cognitive decline are eligible. It'll cost about $32,000 a year and is covered by Medicare Part B. In Lexington, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
And you are invited to take part in the annual Walk to End Alzheimer's. It is their big fundraiser to help find a cure. And this year it will be October 20th at the Kentucky Horse Park. It starts around 1:30.